scientific method, a way to show. And lay them down and put them on their back. I would determine which characters they laugh. Line them up, spin them round, put them on their side. I will use a ruler to determine which is wise. And let's test it. They will know. Scientific method, a way to show. Causation using me now. I need an answer and I need to know how. I need to tip my results to consider. I won't give up, I am no scientific quitter. Let's test it, and then we'll know. Scientific method, a way to show.
Our host and incredible chemical engineer, Mr. Dr. Pete Ludamus.
All right, that's welcome to Science Today, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible.
And
I like that better. All right, Incredible and chemical engineer are not two words you normally hear together. I am actually a chemical engineer. It's not a conversation starter at parties. But we're excited that so many people are here excited about science. Because not a lot of people in Georgia are excited about science, right? I mean, despite the fact we've had some guests here, we're going to have some more guests tonight from major universities like Spelman, Georgia State, Emory, Georgia Tech. We've got a lot of corporate research facilities down here. We've got places, government labs like the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Science isn't really big, right? In Georgia, we were more about sports and guns and sports, right? And the best evidence of that is very recently we made the Guns Everywhere law. Yeah, I'm just grateful that at the very end, in the 11th hour, they removed the part that allowed people to bring guns into my classroom at Georgia Tech. Because I think we all know what that means, don't we? Right? A lot of the Georgia Tech folks are happy about that one as well. We all know what it means when you can bring a gun into my class at Georgia Tech. A's for everyone, right? Right, and part of the reason we're here is to prove to especially some of the young folks who will no doubt be traumatized after tonight's show that scientists aren't always weird and nerdy. We're regular, normal people. We have senses of humor. We have hobbies. We do interesting things. And I want to apologize for the fact that despite our efforts to do that, I am wearing the plastic vinyl pocket protector. We've got a bunch of these free available after the show. You can pick one up if you want to, right? We've got plenty of those available for you. And people laugh at me for wearing these, right? The gentleman's got like 7 of them right there. That'll make you popular. Yeah, that's really good. So despite the fact that I wear this all the time, I actually wear it in comedy clubs from coast to coast, right? Because mine comes completely equipped with the laser pointer, ladies and gentlemen. Because I find that nothing says back off to a would-be heckler like a 5-milliwatt laser right in the eye, right? I open for a lot of comedians. They're always asking me, Pete, were there hecklers in the audience? How can I tell where the hecklers are? I'm like, dude, it's easy. Look for the guy going like this. Ah! All right, and I kind of want to apologize, right? Apologize on behalf of all science and engineering instructors, because we don't often engage the audience. That's part of what we're trying to do here tonight. A little bit of jokes, a few stories, some narrative, a little bit of music. We're not always the greatest teachers, right? And the best example is, despite the fact that we have spent 40 years trying to teach you folks the metric system, nobody cares, right? All right, make some noise if you're a fan of the metric system. Okay, obviously, this audience does not get out too much. That's all I'm saying. But it is kind of confusing, right? I mean, you've sort of got, mega, giga, you get all these different prefixes, right? Tera, peta, things like that. And it's very, very strange. I mean, mega, giga, tera, peta sounds like a sobriety test you get when you get pulled over. Recite the Latin prefixes, and then we'll let you go. And the big thing is I do a lot of computing at Georgia Tech, and now we do a quadrillion floating point operations per second. We call them flops. That's a petaflop. The NSF loves petaflop computing. I love petaflop computing, but does that make me a pedophile? That's the confusing part. And if you think about it, after 40 years, the only demographic in the United States to embrace the metric system are drug dealers. Right? They're all about the grams and the kilos and the grams, right? So I'm thinking maybe we could take a page from their playbook. It's a little bold, but maybe they could help us teach the American public about the metric system. I couldn't do it. I'd get fired inside of a week. I'm thinking only the Imagineers at Disney could pull this off. Hi, kids. Mickey Mouse here, and my friend Carlos from Bogota is going to teach you all about the metric system. Come on, Pluto. This guy gives me the creeps. Okay, Mickey, sit down and strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Today, kids, I'm going to teach Chew about the metric system. You have 3 kilos. You take away 1 kilo. You don't want to take away 1 kilo, but your friend Luisi comes down the street. He says, hey, give me that 1 kilo. You owe me that 1 kilo. I say, you get that kilo over my dead body. Then he threatens to put an ice pick through your eyeball. So, kids, you have 3 kilos. You take away 1 kilo. How many kilos do you have? Maybe a quarter to a fifth, because we cut it with a lot of powdered sugar, and that's the metric system. All right, so I appreciate you folks laughing at the only obviously racist joke in the entire monologue today. I want to apologize. I don't mean anything. I don't mean to imply anything to anyone of Hispanic heritage about that. I certainly don't mean to imply that if you are of Hispanic heritage, you are necessarily good with the metric system. You may suck. I don't really know. That's all I'm saying. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And we're glad you're here to enjoy tonight's really great show with some really great guests. Lou's already here. How you doing, Lou?
Good. How are you, Pete?
Are you ready to go?
I am. You know, this is the 2015 is the 100th anniversary of Albert Einstein.
And you have the Albert Einstein action figure.
In box, my Albert Einstein action figure.
It's anatomically correct. That's the scary part
Yes.
about it. I don't know what's going on with that.
You know, if you drop him off the Tower of Pisa, no, I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. So shall we begin with our first guest?
Yeah. So you know, I was talking about Einstein because our first guest is rather intimate with his equations.
His equations, not him.
Well, I don't know.
Or not the anatomically correct action figure. Okay.
Why don't you bring out our first guest, Pete?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our first guest is a relativistic physicist. Okay, before that scares anyone, she's actually really cool, and she's going to talk about the various applications of that. Please welcome Deidre Schumacher, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Deirdre.
That's a scary intro.
Okay, so why is that scary? You're with the School of Physics at Georgia Tech.
Yes, but I barely know Albert, really.
Okay, so she's denying she wants
Yeah,
plausible
right.
probability of
Any
Albert
intimacy
Einstein.
between
Okay.
Albert and myself.
All right, so I got to start with a question that's bugging me, because we were talking backstage about black holes. What is a black hole, and why do I care?
All right, a black hole is a dead sun or star. So stars get too big sometimes, and if they die really catastrophically, they can form a black hole.
So a dead star, like Ted Danson. Is really
You know, if he just ate a little bit more, it could happen. Nothing
Okay.
could keep
If
it
he
up
put
anymore.
on enough
Boom.
weight and then compressed himself.
That would be it. He'd be a black hole. And how many people here found this theater with a GPS? Anyone? I did too. Actually, I got lost once, even though I
How many
used my
people
GPS.
did not find the theater yet?
I didn't say that. Where are we? Well, your GPS needs general relativity to find this theater.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's really cool, I think, about the work that Deirdre and others do, is that it really very applicable, that people think of this, you know, high energy physics, well, you're not high energy physics, but cosmology and astrophysics, all of the relativistic Einstein's equations, you know, general relativity, how does that affect my everyday life? And GPS is an example.
Yep.
So with
These
GPS, it's
determiners.
my understanding that I get to blame my demographic, the engineers, that we were told by the physicists to put in the corrections for relativity that, it's not going to make a difference in the GPS. And they literally, is that true? They turned it off and things got messed up.
Yeah, what I heard is that they had, it was a computer code up in the satellites, and they had the lines that would do the corrections for both where you are in a gravitational potential and how fast you're moving. So how fast you're moving makes you slow down. And if you're really high up, like a person on the top of the building, they're aging faster than someone on the bottom. And
So we're actually aging slightly faster than the first row.
6
inches
a little
faster.
bit feeling aging. Wait, no, they're better.
Oh,
I think
I'm-
you got that wrong.
If you're the
I
back
think you
rows,
got that wrong.
your back
the
rows
wrong-
are embarrassing.
We're aging faster.
Yes.
We get to die first.
Yeah, okay. It's very confusing up here. So yeah, they commented out those lines of code, and then they turned on the satellite, and it was wrong. It was incorrect. You'll be incorrect within a few minutes. You're off by about 10 meters. So they had to uncomment those codes.
Okay.
Victory for the relativists.
Victory.
So there it is. So there's an example of actual pure fundamental science making
pure.
a difference in your.
I don't think
everyday life.
Albert sat down and said, "I'm going to invent this theory so that GPS can be right."
Okay.
That was loud.
But I mean, it's a pretty small correction. You're basically correcting for the fact that your gravitational field is different depending on where you are, and if it's a real small
Yes.
change in velocity relative to the change in light.
It's because it's so
Right.
accurate. So your GPS is accurate to nanoseconds. So once you get really accurate with atomic clocks, you have to
Wow.
correct for things that seem unrelated to your everyday life.
Okay. So physics in your everyday life. What about physics not in your everyday life, right?
The stuff I actually do.
So,
It's in your everyday life.
good
It's
intro.
my everyday life.
So is that related to black holes and stuff that's far away?
Yeah, black holes are just the ultimate manifestation of that, right?
Okay. So you make it sound like,
I
the
collide
final
them.
band in coming on, there's, the couple guys that
Well,
warm
they're
up,
nice, yeah.
and then it's
Yeah.
black holes.
So I'm a black hole. I get on MARTA. Don't cross the event horizon,
You're
please.
killing me. So,
I'm married, but I'm a black hole.
what's up with
I
you
get
guys?
on MARTA. Another black hole bumps me on my shoulder.
He can't bump you, touches you. You're now one big black hole, happy forever together.
Happy
You
forever.
cannot remove them.
Black holes cannot touch.
So marriage equality applies to black holes.
That's right.
Done.
Can black holes get married in Georgia? That's what I want.
They can't get divorced.
The
That's
jury's
Can't
still
get
out.
divorced. That's why. So be careful.
Black holes
if you're
can't.
marrying
They
a black
can't get
hole.
divorced. It's what that's what I do.
But if, for example, our sun turned
Yes.
into a black hole,
Yes.
would we be sucked into it?
No, we would die from lack of light, but our orbit would be the same. It's not a giant vacuum cleaner. That's always the question people ask me. Are black holes giant vacuum cleaners in the sky? No.
Okay.
You still have to get really close to it before you'd die. And then you would, but you'd be ripped apart tidally. We call it
'Cause the
spaghettification.
Gravity would sort of pull you.
Yeah,
in,
so if you
And
put
the-
jump in, you'd be ripped.
Little particles of you would leak back out, right?
Well, that's
Isn't
quantum
Hawking
effects.
radiation?
Yeah, that's a little tricky though, but yeah.
It's tricky.
That one's getting tricky. It's a little beyond, I think. where
Yeah,
we're
it's
at.
not a talk show topic.
That's-
You're gonna have to take her class for that.
You can? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Okay, so we'd survive, we just wouldn't have any light, so that would be a problem.
So we would
Plant
die.
matter,
Yeah, I
things
feel like
that.
that's someone else out here would help us with that.
Excellent.
The
We're
plant
gonna
matter.
have to you back with with a
Yeah.
cosmologist.
Right.
Yeah,
But our
yeah.
sun, kind of teeny weeny, probably not going to turn into a black hole.
It will not. No, we will die for other reasons, but no.
Okay, and Lou will die.
I will
for
die.
The fact that nobody really likes him.
Slightly before
It'll happen.
all of
Because
these
he's up
people.
here, in inches.
All right, well, thank you,
Yeah,
Deirdre.
thank you, Deirdre.
Dr. Shoemaker, let's
you.
hear it for her.
Hey guys,
Oh, wait,
Wait, you're gonna
wait, I go over here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you
moving
scoot
down.
down. You
I
scoot
was
down.
hoping I could leave. You are a black hole
I know.
on this stage forever.
I've heard
Right,
that so
so-
many times.
Just feeling.
So now we're going to welcome our next guest, who had some very interesting conversation backstage. He is a cognitive scientist, a behavioral cognitive scientist.
Neuroscientist, I believe.
Neuroscientist, you are correct. Behavioral neuroscientist from Georgia State University. Please welcome to the show, Joe Normandin.
Look at all those people doing people things, and I have
That's
to talk in
nice.
front of them.
So, but you teach at Georgia State.
I
Don't you
do.
talk
I
in
do.
front of people?
Yeah, but this feels different. I feel like I'm somehow not an expert right now, but I guess I am because I have a PhD. Huh?
Okay, but we're required to actually behave like people. That's the
That's
difference.
the problem. I'm
But-
used to being a nerd.
So let's start with the area of your neuroscience research, which is something relatable to by all people.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that would be,
Sex. I study
Okay,
sex.
this
Yes.
so for all the people that brought young children, good luck.
But it might not be as fun as you're thinking because my animal model is a rat. So
Okay.
I've watched a lot of rat sex. Not as fun as perhaps watching other kind of
Is that legal in the state of Georgia?
What
Lou?
exactly was that URL?
Ratsex.org. I'm guessing.
But it's a fantastic model to study some of the basic aspects of the brain and how our brain also functions. So.
Okay, but I have to ask that. So what you're doing, animal models. A lot of times scientists use animal models. We want to pick the best animal model, right? Ironically, pigs, good model for humans in some respects. Are rats decent models for human sexuality?
It's actually a great question because for some aspects of our sexuality, no, and others, yes. So for example, type of the rat, which is one type of rodent, right? It's not a good model for studying things like love or bonding between individuals. But there are other rodents that do form those bonds that might be great models for studying love and bonding. They're called voles, for example. And there's some people at Emory that study that. However, I'm on the other end of things, so to speak, which is, and the rat is a great model for that. So the rat muscles for the genitalia are very similar to ours.
I know.
We don't know why. We don't know how you know.
It's very scary.
I've read his papers.
Okay.
Jeez, you people.
There was interesting discussion about rat boners earlier in the green room. Yeah,
Is that the
so
technical term?
that is
Hashtag rat boners.
not the technical term,
Okay.
no.
Would it rat erection would be?
That would be better, yeah.
And you just threw boner in there to let them think you're a normal human
I'm a
being.
normal human being, yep.
Can we keep this in the Latin, please?
Okay.
So my work basically revolved around how our brain regulates genital reflexes. So things like erection, ejaculation, vaginocervical contractions, the things that happen during orgasm that are not the good feelings, but rather all the stuff, the motor stuff that's happening down there during sex.
Okay.
And what's interesting is I call them reflexes. And a reflex is a very simple neural pathway or system where you have some kind of sensory input, like a feeling, and that elicits an automatic unconscious response, right? So in terms of sex, something like ejaculation is actually a reflex. We don't need our brain to do that. But our brain, now if you think about this, just a little.
Lou concurs.
So
He doesn't need his brain for a lot of things, actually. It's driving.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
So what I'm saying is, a little touchy-touchy on the genitalia results in something like an ejaculation, but in fact, that's not what happens to us every day, right? Because
Thank goodness.
In your case, Pete, every year.
Okay. That's, if
Well-
I'm lucky.
so when we put our clothes on in the morning, our genitalia are being touched and they're receiving sensory information, right? But we don't have any kind of sexual response because our brain puts a brake on that. And my research was all about that brake and how it works.
So rat sexuality research has actually taught us a little bit about that thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So one of the interesting things is, when people take antidepressants, one of the side effects for this is that they have delayed orgasm or very difficult to have an appropriate sexual response.
Right.
And we want people to be taking their antidepressants to treat their depression and also to have this appropriate sexual response. And so through studying animal models, we've been able to learn where these drugs are acting in this pathway in the brain that's basically really stepping on the brake that I was talking about.
Okay. So that sounds like a really important application.
Absolutely.
And is that the application you cite when someone locally from Congress calls you up and say, why are we funding this kind of research?
Absolutely. Yep.
Hashtag rat boner.
Okay. All right, so my final last question on this, is there any applicability to middle school kids walking around carrying their books in front of them, things like that?
Advice he could give.
There is actually. So one of the things that I found in studying this pathway in the brain where this brake is, right, is that it's very sensitive to hormones. And we know, of course, during puberty, we start, our gonads, our testes,
All right, he's keeping it in the lab
our
a little bit.
balls,
He's okay.
and in women, ovaries, they start producing a lot of hormones. Right?
Hashtag rat boner's trending, by the way.
And oh boy, those lights are really hot. So yeah, during this time, these hormones are all floating around in the bloodstream, and this brake is sensitive to that, and it actually turns the brake down. We think. I can't say that for sure, but that's the hypothesis.
So bizarre rat sexuality that you can use, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thank you very much. Thank
Let's
you.
have a hand for Joe
great.
Normandin and Deirdre Shoemaker.
Come here, my dear. There's nothing to fear. Why do you make it so hard? It could be easy. Tough, you're strong, shiver. Your whole body will start to quiver. And your reaction won't take long. Ooh, I'll make it easy. Gonna twist, gonna turn, gonna bend and shake. I'm gonna work over till your bonds all break. It'll feel so good, you'll never notice the change. You'll never be the same. I'm gonna make you react. 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 I've got you. I'm gonna make you react. My sight. I'm gonna make you react. I've got you. I'm gonna make you react. Active sight. I'm gonna make you react. I've got you. I'm gonna make you react. My sight. I'm gonna make you react. I've got you. I'm gonna make you react. Active sight.
So what's your name again?
Matt.
Matt. So Matt's going to come out in the audience. Pick someone for us who's willing to answer a question. Raise your hand if you're willing to answer a question for us about science. Anyone? Anyone at all?
And
For a prize, for this, I think this lady over here wants to answer.
I turned the mute off.
no, it doesn't have to be right as long as it uses the word rat boner.
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
All right. So right over there. So we're going to start with this this nice lady here, and we're giving away a few squishy brains that Joe brought in. We've also got some T-shirts. Feel the power of the dork side. This is what I use for my Denver trip. It's actually got tetrahydrocannabinol on it, and it's got a play on the DuPont logo. And if you've got something and you want a different size, we can also do that as well. And then one of our favorites, Nurse kicks ass in the elements of the periodic table. So, can I start with the first question?
Go for it.
Okay. Is the following real? Fecal transplants.
It's a true false. 50% chance.
Absolutely. All right. All right. Let's get our teacher. And we'll let you switch it. We'll have you. Oh, she wants the DuPont one. We'll switch it out for you afterwards. And if you get one and you want to change out a size or something like that, we can do that as well.
Pete, where
Now,
can I buy these shirts?
This after the show, right? This gentleman here seems very eager to answer a question. Do you have one for us?
Sure. Here, we've got some of the 5 regular platonic solids made out of actual minerals here. What is the name of this one? I'll give you a hint.
Or the shape?
No, the shape. I'll give you a hint. It is not cube.
And it's not a dodecahedron.
And it is not a dodecahedron, so you've narrowed it down to 3.
It's a
Make a guess.
You don't have to be right.
3D octagon.
Close enough. Give him a prize.
What's the what
He
is
said
the
it's
actual?
a D8 dice. He plays Dungeons and
What
Dragons.
is the?
It's an icosahedron.
Can I
Thank you, ladies
toss
and
out a couple
gentlemen.
brains too? All right, let me give some brains out here.
Maybe Lucille
I'm giving
has a
out brains
question.
as well, right? 'Cause this'll-
There's some more next to you.
All right, so can we get something else? So we have a question
Yes.
from the
Hashtag
director
bee boner.
of the Urban Honeybee Project at Georgia Tech.
Yes. Well, actually, the person I'm cloned from is that person.
Gotcha.
Yes. Okay, so what is the method of sex determination in honeybees? Like, what's the genetic difference between a male and a female honeybee? Do you know?
I'm not familiar with this subject.
We'll do what real scientists do. Take a guess.
All right. Well, we can simplify the question. What's the difference genetically between a male and a female human? How-
Yeah, so
what
the
makes
X and
them-
Y chromosomes.
Yes, there you go. Okay. That's halfway there.
Okay.
That's right. So you win a prize, for sure. You win a prize.
All right.
Does anybody in the audience know the method of sex determination in honeybees? Ooh. It's different than humans.
We got one over here.
You want
I guess our scientists don't count.
Oh, wait, Will knows. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. Oh, we got somebody in the audience. What is it? So, are males haploid? Males are haploid! Take Male honeybees develop from unfertilized eggs.
Thank you.
All right, let's do a couple more questions. Maybe our guest scientists will have some questions.
Sure. How about, can anybody name 2 lobes of the human brain?
George and Irma. You didn't say you had to name them correctly.
No.
Picture.
What are 2 lobes? Name 2. Anyone else?
Just get-
Get the mic to the person.
I heard, what was the first one?
And parietal. Frontal and parietal.
Frontal and parietal works. The other two would be temporal and occipital.
See, we'll get you a shirt after the show.
One more. Let's get one from Deirdre.
All right, here we go. If Lou Lefton and Albert Einstein, no, this is only a prop, you can't have it, were to jump from a building, who would hit first? Albert or Lou?
Oh, you got a lot of answers here.
Neither, because gravity has the same effect.
Yes.
See us after the show. We'll get you a
They
shirt as
both
well.
would hit.
We both would hit.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
we both
And
hit.
Albert's cadaver would not feel a thing.
But Lou would look good doing it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a
yourselves
big
a
round of applause.
hand.
You're absolutely fabulous.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you and good night.
All right.
We're going to have two more guests. We're going to have two more guests.
We're going to sort of tag it
But,
on.
That's the end of this part.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. That's what I meant.
I am a worker bee. I love my family. I am foraged the whole day through. But there is one thing I'll never do. I'll never do. I see my sister fly into the open sky. Goes and looks for love and finds a mate. But when it comes to love, I'll have to wait and wait. But I will sacrifice myself. I will sacrifice myself. I will sacrifice myself. I'll sacrifice for you. I will sacrifice for you. Princess and I were late. They said we were the same. They gave me bread to fill my belly, but to my sister they fed royal jelly. My sister long and tall, but me I hit the wall. Now there is no need for me to modulate. Except my whole finger of fate. I will sacrifice myself. I will sacrifice myself. I will sacrifice myself. Sacrifice for you. I will sacrifice for you. I am a worker bee. I love my family. And though I'll never have fruit of my own, it makes me happy just to watch my kinfolk grow.
Our next guest is Dr. Leta Winfield. She is the chairman of the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry from, you don't look like her at all.
No, I don't. She's much better looking than I am.
From Spelman College, please welcome Dr. Winfield.
Hi.
Hello, Leta, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Thanks for coming on Science Today. We're
Yes.
doing great. So tell us.
Opinion.
Well, we're failing miserably, but you won't be able to tell because it is all going to be edited out. Tell us a little bit about how you, about your chemistry. I know you do about cancer drug design, and you've done some work on the Pete, you're supposed to help me out here.
Benzimidazoles?
Yes.
Yes, benzimidazoles.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your work, just at a high level.
Okay. So I'm an organic chemist, and essentially I'm interested in cancer drug development, and I take small molecules and I modify them until they give us the biological response that I'm looking for. So I'm interested in prostate and breast cancer, and my lead compound is Celebrex, which many of you may know from the commercials on television. So I've modified that structure so that it can have improved activity towards treating cancer.
Excellent. So now you're the chair of the Department of Chemistry, right?
Yes.
So do you keep a jar of acid in your desk for annoying faculty members?
I think it'd take more than a jar. It's a bag, garbage can, something like that.
They're not annoying faculty
They're not
members.
annoying. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Spellman.
It's on record now.
That's right. I can't. I'm putting you in an awkward position there.
No, I don't keep acid in my drawer for annoying faculty members.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
when I'm working in the lab really late at night, I do keep a large jar of acid on my bench top. It's my own personal security system.
See, that's a good idea. If you have your bench, keep that acid there just in case.
Yes.
I like that. So I was looking at your biography, and it said that you pursued the study of chemistry originally with the hope of becoming a cosmetologist, a cosmetic scientist, right?
Yes.
But then later you ended up curing cancer. So aren't you a little disappointed that you didn't achieve your goal?
No, curing cancer is very rewarding, but I'm excited because it feels like my career is coming full circle. I can still work on the cancer, but because I'm a faculty member, I get to explore other things that are of interest to me. So in the fall, I'm going to be offering a class that's called Beauty. And we're essentially going to look at the different ways science impacts the standards of beauty now. And we're going to look at things like Botox and that thing made popular by Kim Kardashian. I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah, you can say it.
Edit that out.
We've already been to the rat boner place.
So we're
There's nothing you can't say.
We're going to look at things like fat transfer and cosmetic surgeries and how science really enable all of those different
That sounds
technologies.
really interesting. That's
Fat
great.
transfer. That's what my wife claims every time I get up and just walk anywhere.
Yes.
So your work also, you kind of try to work on cancers. You mentioned prostate cancer and breast cancer. Are those cancers that disproportionately affect African Americans, or are there other ones? Because you mentioned, I noticed that you talked about that a little in your bio. Are they? Is that what's your take on that? Is that what are the reasons why that happens?
So we're still trying to figure out why that is the case, and there are a number of reasons that have been given, but we do know that those diseases are highly represented in the African American community, and from different levels, from being diagnosed at late stages or being diagnosed at very progressive stages. They're very difficult to treat in this particular population.
Interesting.
So you mentioned before that you take a base compound and you're interested in modifying. Is that a common theme in anti-cancer and drug research, that you'll take, some root and find it as other applications by changing the structure?
So for my approach as an organic chemist, I either look at a base compound that I want to modify, or I can look at a target in the body that I want to build a compound for. So as I'm looking at Celebrex, I may look at the COX-2 enzyme and look at its binding pocket and figure out how I can actually get a molecule to fit in that particular pocket.
Okay. And are you interested in something binding to stop it or binding to make it go faster, right?
So,
agonist or antagonist?
Right. So anything that turns off the inflammatory response, we now think that can also be used to treat cancer.
Okay, so this is part of this sort of new evolving theory about cancer, that cancer is now related to the immune system and things like that. I mean, this is why we now have cancer vaccines, HPV, things like that.
Exactly.
It also means the rocket in your pocket lyric about the enzyme, not just a dirty song, like I thought. Thanks for clearing that up.
Very good. All right, well, we got one more guest, so let's have a hand for Dr. Leita Winfield.
Thank you.
You guys can scooch down, and we're going to make room for our final guest tonight. And we have actually enjoyed the fantastic music of Lucy and Zipper. We figure our band here, give the band a hand. Aren't they awesome? Our band here gets a chance to entertain us with their music, but let's talk to Dr. Zipper and find out who's really under the wig. Let's talk to Dr. Zipper. Dr. Zipper, Lucine is here. So, Lucine, you've been genetically modified.
That's right.
And can you tell me a little bit about what that was like? Was that something you just woke up one morning? Did you emerge from a vat? How did it feel?
It was a little unusual. So I can't talk a lot about it because it's a proprietary, speedy sort of growth process.
I see.
So yeah.
So you were like 3D printed, or almost
well,
emerging from the goop?
I was cloned from Jennifer Levy, who teaches biology at Georgia Tech. Yep. But I've been genetically modified to rock much more than she does.
That's true.
And so and then.
Pretty hard.
Yeah, and so me and my fellow clones and I grew up in a sterile test facility, and yeah, it was a little unusual. We're only let out usually for about 1 week a year, late March.
So, as one of the first rock and cloned humans that you guys are, I wonder, have people tried to clone humans who are, say, funky? Or jazzy? I mean,
how
does the genome work?
There was a first generation set of clones.
And, really?
If you happen to come to the show on Friday, the variety show, we do have a clone 1.0 that will be playing the conga drums with us. Yeah.
And I hear he was cloned from the dean of the College of Sciences at Georgia Tech.
He was. He goes by the name Wormhole.
Wormhole. That was a Harry Potter character that was never very successful. They cut him out in the rewrite.
Yeah, there was also a second generation sort of, 1977 era clone, little messed up, playing the flute.
Yeah.
On Friday, this was cloned from M.G. Finn, the chair of the School of Chemistry
you've got
and Biochemistry.
So you've been cloning your lab. The lab which you came from has been cloning scientists and turning them into rockers for a while now.
That's right.
So if we picked say a distinguished scientist like Dr. Winfield, how would her clone turn out?
I think it would be great. Technology has really advanced, and so I'm sure that your clone
no
would turn
conga
out
flute thing
far
going
better.
on there, right?
Far better than the zinc fingers have turned out.
Yeah. I think it'll be a jazzy clone.
A jazzy clone?
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, we are wrapping up our show tonight. We want to give a couple quick announcements, but first, how about a huge round of applause for our guests, Dr. Layta Winfield and Lucine Zipper.
Facing me now, got correlation but no causation. How? I will consider it under the whole red light, but I need a method to help me get it right. So let's test it, and then we'll know scientific method.